Hello and welcome back to A Risk of Draw. This is episode 2, and so basically I'm doing something a little bit different now. Now, since I was pretty tired for this recorded round, it was at a pretty early time. I was trying to talk about Europe and whatnot, the trip that me and my girlfriend Zoe had recently, but I never really got to finish talking about it. So I thought it was a little bit unfair that I start talking about it and never really finish talking about it, because I kept getting distracted, kept getting sidetracked and all that kind of stuff throughout the game. So I thought what I would do is do a little bit of replacement commentary, and then whenever anything interesting happened in the game, I'd cut back to the current commentary, or the commentary of that, of the original game. Alright, but what I've also done is I've brought along my partner Zoe.
Hello, I'm Zoe.
who went on the trip with us. And yeah, so I've already spoken about Amsterdam and Berlin. I've spoken about sort of how it was, like, the fact that it was so similar was such a culture shock for us. So similar to Melbourne, that is. But also how intense it was to start off our trip. You know, how it was like really it was a bit of a struggle right from the start.
Well, I had never really been to another Western city before, so I was very shocked, I guess, as you said, about how similar it was. And me and Jared both agreed when we first got to Prague that we started to feel like that's the reason why we came to Europe. It was so...
What was the reason that we came to Europe?
Like, it was so old-fashioned, and
Right.
when we thought of Europe in our heads, Prague, first we went to Prague, that was what it reminded us of.
Yeah, see, definitely the thing about Amsterdam and Berlin, see, I don't know so much about Amsterdam, but Berlin is quite a new city, and we were staying in East Berlin as well, so it still had that, you know, fairly industrial vibe to it. Not much of the whole, you know, when you go to Europe, you think of, or at least this is, you know, to people who haven't lived in Europe, you think the whole castles, countryside, you know, small little cute villages and stuff like that. Whereas Amsterdam and Berlin were obviously quite different. Of course, that's kind of what we were expecting, but, you know, when you get faced with it in real life, especially Amsterdam's such a busy city, so tourist orientated, it can be quite a shock to the system.
And you have to pay for the toilet.
And yeah, shit like that. Yeah, exactly. It's so annoying. Having all these extra little expenses that you need to worry about because, I mean, we're traveling. Like, we've already spent so much.
We ended up just finding, like, ways that we could sneak into the bathrooms because,
Yeah.
like, okay, what was it, like $1.50 Australian? That's not that much to pay for the toilet, but when you're out all day, like, you know, we left the hostel each morning, maybe, I don't know, 10, and then we got back around, like, 6 or 7. You're gonna go to the toilet a few times, and,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
So, yeah, it adds up.
Yeah, so we'll move on to Prague now, and we spent 5 days there. I think it was the longest consecutive amount of time that we spent in Prague. Of course, we come back to Amsterdam, and that adds up again. But 5 days or 5 nights in Prague, that was it was a long time in one place. Especially since, again, it was so busy to actually go down into the... we were staying a little bit outside of it.
In the world's worst hostel.
It's a bunyip. Okay, fine, do it then. Oh, I hate this. I hate dealing with the lag. Alright. Oh yeah, that was a whole another issue as well. We had to, it was an Airbnb. We never knew that we were actually going to be sharing the apartment with other people. I mean, okay, we had our private room, but it was about, I don't know.
A meter by like 5 meters. It was a really stupid
Yeah,
shape.
maybe 2 by 5, 2 by 6, something like that.
And then there was a really, really tiny kitchen. And
With no equipment.
with,
Two
like,
two knives. 2 knives among 6 people. Something ridiculous like that.
and the guy who ran the I don't know. It was okay. Yeah, whatever.
Let's just quickly listen into what I was thinking at this point in the game. 4 minutes. I don't have a bow, so if I am drawn in, I will die, basically. I haven't had the chance to get a bow. Like, I saw that one spider before. But, that was it. There was no way I could have gotten a bow from just one spider, obviously. Let's get lapis. Nearly forgot to do that. So other than, oh yeah, we actually went to Belgium in between going from Amsterdam to Berlin. We went to Belgium, which was really cool. Just for the day. We didn't stay there or anything. And we visited Bruges because I'd been to Bruges before, and I really wanted to show Zoe because it was, you know, it's quintessential. Or not, I don't know if quintessential. It's like it's a standout. It's not just quintessential. It's like one of the oldest cities in Europe, or the city in Europe with the oldest buildings left standing, or some shit like that. Okay, glad I managed to do that. Okay. Don't want to get flanked or anything. Oh, one of those zombies is going around, isn't it? Okay, good. Sorry, I'm just concentrating here. Okay, we're good. Thought for a second that we were gonna get molested, mauled, destroyed. Okay, good. I mean, obviously you're traveling, so you're out most of the time anyway, so usually the accommodation doesn't matter, but you always want somewhere to go back to and feel comfortable and stuff like that.
It wasn't horrible. Like, the room was nice, it was a bit misleading. Like, we didn't know that we'd be sharing with 4 other people, and yeah, when you're expecting a private room, especially, like, it's kind of hard to kind of explain, but it was really tiny.
Yeah, it was. So we started to look around Prague, and it was super busy. We enjoyed it. We thoroughly enjoyed it. It was great, but very touristy, especially like somewhere like Charles Bridge and stuff like that. And we're both fairly nature-orientated people. We love going on hikes and stuff like that. So I mean, how did you find
Bohemian Switzerland National Park?
Bohemian Switzerland National Park.
Well, I guess the story leading up to that is we'd probably been there for maybe a week and a half, and I had never stayed in a city for that long consecutively before. And I just went, like, I was like, screw it, like, I need to go to, like, a tree or something, like, you know, and we literally were in, like, it wasn't even our hostel, like, we just went to, like, another hostel, so they can use their computer, and I just found a green patch on Google Maps and said we're going there, and yeah, we booked the train tickets, and then the next morning we woke up at, like, maybe 6:37, and we walked to the station, and we caught the train to Dečin, which is like an hour from Prague, and the train trip was really pretty as well, like, we're going for, like, some nice little hills, and then when we got to Dečin, it was kind of funny. We got there and then we went to go catch the bus, and because in Australia there's no on-peak and off-season. Sorry. Yeah. And then you know, the buses weren't running. They were running, I think, like, twice that day, and like the first bus was in like 4 hours, and it was just like, oh, we didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But we were really lucky that there was one other guy from Poland who was also going to exactly the same place, exactly the same time, and he just turned to us and he goes, "Don't talk, I'll go talk to the cab driver." And then he just went and, like, got, like, a cheap cab fare to the start of the trek. And
yeah, exactly. He was just as confused as us by the bus timetable. It was
the bus timetable was very confusing.
It was insane. Yeah, even this Polish bloke who spoke a bit of Czech said, "Oh, this shit's black magic to me. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on here." Anyway, so yeah, we managed to get up to Zrensko. Yeah, Zrensko, which is right on the German border with the Czech Republic, and it was, I mean, it was called Bohemian Switzerland National Park, basically, because, I mean, their region is called Bohemia, and it was basically so, you know, what's the word, reminiscent of Switzerland, the Swiss Alps and such. And so yeah,
It's a 7-kilometer hike.
7 kilometer hike up to what we saw in Google Images, which was this giant, the biggest sandstone arch in Europe, and it was just absolutely beautiful. The hike itself was fantastic. It was the first time we saw snow, I think, like even just like bits on the ground and stuff like that.
Yeah, the first time we saw frost.
Yeah, frost and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure if it was
Just
falling
Australian
from.
things.
Yeah, exactly. You really don't get it that much. I mean, like we're not that far south, and our mountains aren't exactly that high. So yeah, it was such a nice walk, so different.
It was like on the side of a cliff.
A lot of it was,
A
wasn't
lot
it?
of it was on like the side of a cliff, and then like off the side of the cliff there'd be mountains, and then on the path it'd be all like autumn leaves, and then like sandstone sort of sides.
Yeah, like
Really-
cliff faces.
faces, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and then we got up to the arch and we hung out there for maybe an hour or two.
Yeah, and there was this restaurant up by the arch, but it was closed since it was like a Sunday or something.
It usually costs to go in, but since we were in winter, we just got to walk in, so that was
Yeah.
cool.
That was really cool. That was the first time we saw ice, and we were like absolutely fascinated with basically like this natural formation of ice that we shattered into very straight edges. We're looking at the photos here. Just that we're using them as basically prompts as to what to talk about. And yeah, the views were absolutely gorgeous. As I said, very reminiscent of Switzerland, for example. So very not high enough to be snowy, like snow-capped mountains or anything like that, but very green, very interesting rock formations on the cliff faces and all that. Lots of trees, lots of. It was just a beautiful, vast view of. I don't know if we actually got to look into Germany, but a very vast view of Western Czech Republic. And then we were on our way home, and of course, I mean, as you'd remember, the bus situation wasn't particularly favourable to get to Žrensko from Dechin, but we just started our walk back to Žrensko, and then we found some people who were just getting into their car, and we were like, "Can we have a lift to Dechin?" And they were absolutely fine with it. So we basically hitchhiked back to Dechin, which is not something we'd usually do. It was a bit of a nerve-wracking moment, but it was okay. They all seemed really friendly and such. And the funny thing was that they were so shocked that a couple of Australians had found their way to this place, because apparently it's not a particularly tourist-heavy area, and they were absolutely surprised that we'd managed to find our way there, because who knows about that place, who knows about Bohemian Switzerland National Park. So this isn't to say that we didn't enjoy Prague so much that we had to escape it. We absolutely loved Prague, and we forgot that we went to like St. Vitus's Cathedral and the Prague Castle, Petrin Hill. Yeah, exactly. All these stunning views, stunning pieces of architecture, and
Yeah, it was really
and all
beautiful.
sorts. It was amazing. We were walking to Prague Castle, and we were just following directions. We didn't really know what it was going to be like when we got there, and like the moment we got there, it was just like hordes and hordes of people lining up to get in. We didn't exactly realize how huge it was, how popular and how touristy it was going to be, but for good reason, of course, because St. Vitus's Cathedral is just absolutely gorgeous. I think that was my favorite part of the castle. The rest of it was pretty good, but yeah, St. Vitus's Cathedral was definitely the centerpiece. Let me think. So we did Petrin Hill. We also another thing we did away from Prague was we went to a place called Český Krumlov, or something along those lines. I'm not. Yeah, and it was basically it was like Bruges, only a Czech version, and it was smaller. Like the surrounding town was smaller. The actual residential area, as in outside of the old town, wasn't as highly populated. The old town itself was smaller, but it was utterly gorgeous. I mean, this is what we're talking about when you talk about classic Europe. These fairy tale villages, these medieval places that have remained untouched or seemingly untouched for centuries. This is another one of those.
Classic red roofs.
Yeah, the central European red roofs, very sort of Germanic.
It's the first time that I actually saw snowfall.
Yeah, that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah, like actual snowfall, just frost on the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
That was really cool.
Oh man, it was so cool. Yeah, we got a proper snowfall then. It was absolutely beautiful, and in the perfect place as well. It was just so picturesque once the snow had fallen on it and all that. What are these the photos of now? Is this St. Vitus's Prague Castle?
Alchemy Lab.
Oh yeah, so this is when we continued our walk around Prague. We had, we saw all the sites. The Alchemy Lab, which was endorsed by one of the Holy Roman Emperors, I think Rudolf II or something like that. So that was interesting. Prague was absolutely beautiful. There was so much to see around there. So from Prague, we went on
Overnight bus.
an 8-hour, 7-hour.
7 hours. We left at 12:30 a.m. And then we arrived in Prague at 7 a.m. It was a messy night.
Yeah, that was not fun. We were right at the front. It was actually kind of cool. We were right at the front, and we could kind of put our feet up. I mean, better than if we were behind seats or anything like that. So that was nice. It was really cool. We were on the top deck of the bus.
Top deck, front row.
Front row, enormous window right in front of us, completely dark, and we were just sort of like, I don't know. It was really surreal.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I don't particularly know why, but I guess something to do with going into the unknown. Like we were heading now to Poland, and there's a certain I don't know about you, Zoe, but I felt a certain intimidation when it came to going to a new place. I certainly felt it the most when we were going to Prague, because I know Dutch people are great at English. I know a little bit of German, enough to get by, but when we went to the Czech Republic, I didn't know any Czech, and I didn't know like how well people spoke English there. So going to Poland, it was kind of the same, and I felt the same way on that bus trip. I don't know about you.
I remember like when I was organising the trip that Poland was the place that I was the most intimidated by, just because I knew the least about it, and I probably should have done more research, but from what I had researched, it looked the most different too.
And
But it wasn't. It was actually very similar to Melbourne.
And so, yeah, we were very surprised when we got to Krakow. I mean, of course, the rural areas of each of these countries are going to be so different to what we know, and like so different to the cities as well. I mean, the rural areas of Australia are so different to, Melbourne and Sydney and Brisbane and all that. But Krakow was a really, really welcome surprise. The Airbnb we were staying in was so nice.
It was like really old-fashioned, like it was a little old couple, and they had like it was like a little flowery bed sheet, and they had like what are they called? Cross stitches up on the walls.
Something like that, yeah. Yeah.
It was a bit of a walk out of the old town, but still, it was still nice to at least see some of the other streets.
Yeah, exactly. Some of the actual residential area. So that was the end of episode 2. We'll continue the story in episode 3.
Bye!